Hey, what's going on today, guys? Today, we're going to do things a little different. We got a comparison review. Okay, now what we're comparing is the Subaru Limited XT CVT to the Subaru Limited CVT. One of them's a turbo, and just one of them's a regular CVT, just a regular Subaru. All right, guys, stick with me. We're going to come right back and get right into this really interesting comparison review. All right, appreciate it, guys. All right, guys, let's get right into it. Okay, now today what we're doing is a comparison review of the same vehicle. One of them is turbo and one of them is just standard, just a regular limited. Well, actually, the limit is not standard because the base price of a Subaru 2021 is $27,845. But that's just basic. So let's take it up a notch. Let's do the comparison reviews on the limited. So you have a limited, just a regular limited, which is a CVT, and then you have a turbo limited, which is an XT CVT. Now, I already know which one I would choose, but I want to hear, in the comments, what do you think about these two, and which one would better suit your family, your needs, and stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. Okay, now let's start out with the CVT. Now, the CVT will run you $34,645. Just a basic CVT limited. Now, it's not bad. It's really not bad. What's really going to make the difference here is, well, I mean, the turbo, of course, is going to make the difference, but with the fuel and the towing, pretty much, because now the CVT has a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder. Now this thing pushes out 182 horsepower and 176 foot-pounds of torque. Okay, which ain't too bad. Now it has an 8-speed transmission. Now let's go down to the fuel. Okay, the fuel in the city, you can get 26 miles to the gallon. Okay, on the highway, you can get 33 miles to the gallon, and then combined, you get 29 miles to the gallon. Now, which is not bad. 26 in the city is pretty much unheard of. I mean, nowadays anyway. Okay, now let's pause that just for a second and go over to the XT CVT, which is the turbo. Okay, now it has an intercooled turbo on it, which is a 2.4 liter. That one's a 2.5. This is a 2.4 liter. Now this one runs you $39,045, which is not bad. A couple. I mean, this is only roughly around $5,000 difference between a turbo and a regular. But let's get to this horsepower. Now the horsepower, you got 260 horsepower. It's a pretty significant difference. Now with the torque, you got 277 foot-pounds of torque, which, when I think of Subaru, I think of hiking, I think of camping. I don't know, that's just kind of stuff. It's all-wheel drive. You can go almost anywhere, in this vehicle. So, of course, I'm going to probably want to tow something. I'm going to want to put something on the roof rack. We'll probably have some bicycles, stuff like that on the bike rack. And then carry something along with me. A little pop-up tent or, camper or whatever like that. But we're going to get to that in a minute. So stick with me. Okay. Now, the Turbo XT, now this one, it gives you 23 miles in the city, and it does 30 miles on the highway. Okay, now combined, it runs around 26 miles, per gallon combined. Now, both of them, I mean, it's basically still the same vehicle. So both of them are going to still have the 18.5 gallon tank on them. So you still got the 18.5 gallon tank on both of them. Now, if you just stayed in the city, I mean, you know, if you work in the city and stuff like that, you can get 481 miles to a tank in the city, which ain't bad, you know. 481 miles to a tank in the city. Well, I mean, I guess it really depends on how far your commute is, your city driving. But this is in the city. Now, if you're on the highway, traveling or whatever, if you're staying on the highway, you can get 610 miles. You can go a long way on 610 miles. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's a tank. A tank of gas will take you 610 miles. Okay, now let's switch over to the turbo, which is weird to me because I always thought a turbo deals with mostly air. So when I think of, like, I used to do, you know, car shows and stuff, and people had turbos on their car, I thought they got better gas mileage. But this thing does not get better gas mileage with a turbo. Here, let me show you what I mean. Now, with a turbo, in the city, you can only get 425 miles. That's it. With a turbo, you can get 425 miles in the city. You can get 555 miles on the highway. So that's like over 50 miles. That's over 50 miles difference. Yeah. So I got to do a little more research on that because I always thought it was a little different. Maybe it's the vehicle. Maybe it's not me. I don't know, but we'll look into it. Okay, now the tow. This is what I wanted to get to. Now, just with a regular CVT, you can tow 2,700 pounds. But with a turbo CVT, you can tow 3,500 pounds. Almost 1,000 pounds difference. That's crazy. And the weight on the CVT is 3,730 pounds. That's how much it weighs. Now, the turbo, it weighs 3,927. And I don't know if that's all the turbo. It's only 200 pounds, but I don't know how much that turbo weighs. I'm sure that turbo in there don't weigh 200 pounds. But that's the weight of the car, though, 3,936. So this has been really interesting. I'd really appreciate y'all's feedback, you know, just to let me know which one that you would pick. Would you pick the turbo or the non-turbo limited Subaru 2021? All right, guys, I really appreciate y'all sticking with me this far. If you have, be good to yourself, and please be good to others.